Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NerdKave Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Max, and today, the topic we have is the Book of Boba Fett for our first topic, and we're going to do a season recap of the kind of our thoughts on the series and like what our thoughts are about Star Wars moving forward. That is our main topic for this episode, and then we'll go into some DC news and a little bit of Marvel news mixed with some of our topics for music. So, other than that, Max, do you have anything you would like to say?
I mean, I'm just really excited to talk about everything, specifically Book of Boba Fett, because I've kind of been putting off talking about it with you because I had to catch up with the episodes and then seeing the finale, catching up for that, and seeing everybody's kind of reaction to it, and then also the thoughts I have, and I'm really excited to discuss that with you.
All right, cool. So, I guess I can kick it off. So, the Book of Boba Fett. I think I've talked about it before on this podcast at our first episode. Boba Fett is one of my favorite characters of all time. He was I used to have a costume of him growing up, and like I would just like for Lego Star Wars, I'd get all his figures and all this stuff. So, and like for me, he was just this like badass hero that I always just, or I guess he was a villain in the original trilogy, but now he's more of a hero in this. But like for me, Boba Fett's just a big impact for me, to a point where I've like gonna do some cosplay plans for it, and it's gonna be pretty cool. So tune in for that, y'all. But
I'm
anyway,
excited for that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I was like thinking of it the other night, and I was just like, man, the Book of Boba Fett's over, and like I don't know what I'm gonna do now. And so yeah, but so as the series as a whole, the Book of Boba Fett, I think is like what I've heard from people, and this is my opinion too, that in this series you had 7 episodes, and there was a lot of flip-flopping around and all this kind of stuff, and people call it like the Book of Star Wars. There's a lot of as a Star Wars thing. I've heard people say it's really high on like a Star Wars rating scale. It's like an 8. But as a Book of Boba Fett series, it's a low maybe 5, where it's like because you took the 2 episodes in the middle there for Din and the Mandalorian, and Grogu and Luke and all that stuff. Like, it's a great series. Like, and the thing is, you have to watch the Book of Boba Fett leading into Mandalorian season 3 because of Grogu and this meetup. So it's important. It's important to watch this, and it's cool they have like incorporated Boba Fett's character in this.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be a season 2 or not, but like, what are your thoughts? And then we could kind of go into each individual like episode.
So I'm kind of where you are. I think that as like a section of Star Wars, it's really good to not only, have something different, kind of like how The Mandalorian was different from everything before it, but to also see these characters interact on a different level. Like when I was watching reactions for, what was it, episode 5, I think, when Luke first shows back up, people were excited about Luke, but seeing Ahsoka and Luke talk to each other, so many people were freaking out about that. And I think just Disney allowing fans to finally see what they want to in live action is great. But as far as the show goes, being a Boba Fett show, I don't really think it's a Boba Fett show. And the biggest problem I have after finishing yesterday's episode, which I really liked, like the finale, I think did a pretty good job of bringing all of the characters together from all of the different kind of ways of life that we saw throughout the series and making everybody in the series important. Mm-hmm. But I think by doing that, they almost undercut Boba Fett, because that last line he says, is it Fennec, his
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's his last line in the series. He says to Finnick is, "I don't think this is meant for us," or something like that. And in my mind, I'm just kind of like, then what was the show about in terms of being a Boba Fett show? Because the whole thing he was trying to do was establish how, this is his area in the world of Star Wars now. He is taking over from Jabba the Hutt, and it's like the show is based on that for the first few episodes, and then at the end of the series, he's kind of like, well, we did that, but I think it's time for something new. And if that's being done intentionally, like they do have a plan moving forward, I think it could be interesting to see what they do, and especially everybody creatively involved with it. I think they have a really good grasp on mixing what fans want while also giving us interesting stories. But I think the Book of Boba Fett as it is like you said, a really good Star Wars piece, but it is a pretty bad Boba Fett piece.
Okay. All right. Yes. So so when Boba Fett said that, like, I don't know if this is really cut out for me. I think he said that so Finnick could, like, I don't know, he wasn't sure. Like, he was saying it because he wasn't sure, and then Finnick was like, well, if we're not going to do it, who would?
Yeah.
So I think Boba intends on staying on Tatooine.
Okay.
1 second. Here, hold on. And like the ending, that last episode, what I hear about it is it was great. It was an amazing last episode. It just didn't hit. I think it was like people's expectations too. People's expectations were so high that because of the last 2 episodes, that it was like, it felt underwhelming for a lot of people. For critics anyway, but like, I enjoyed like everything from Boba riding the Rancor to like Grogu showing up to there was a lot of like
favorite part of that episode was him just like everything Grogu did in that episode was so funny to me.
He would just like walk out there. He was just like, yeah, man, I'll take out this droid.
Like, he's not scared anymore. He's just like, oh, it's my turn to do my thing.
Yeah, it's like he knew. So
good.
He was protecting his father. So it's just like, it was amazing. Like, it was just like, you got to see, the showdown between Cad Bane and Boba. And did you see the end credit scene?
I did, yes.
Yeah, with Cobb Vanth in the thing. Yeah, so he's alive. So there was another criticism on that too. It was like, okay, why are they showing us this when they, like, nobody really cares? But like, why couldn't they like do something to lead up to the next thing? It's like, the thing with the Book of Boba Fett, they don't know if they're making a second season out. Nothing's been confirmed yet.
Okay.
So I think they left it open-ended so that if they want to go back to it, they can. Or they're leaving it open for Mandalorian Season 3, where it's like, Boba Fett has control of Tatooine, so, Din and Grogu can always go back there as a safe haven, right? Because
definitely.
Boba's in control. So it depends on how they go with it. And, like, it seemed like that Boba's and Finnick's interaction with, like, the mods and, what's the Wookiee's name? Oh, no.
I can't remember.
Oh no!
Not Chewbacca.
No, it's not. It's oh no! It's gonna beat me up until I figure it out. Anyway, where it was like, what do we do now or whatever? And it's just like, it seems like they're gonna have their own little like thing going as a group. I don't know if that'll like come into Mandalorian Season 3 as like, oh, Mando needs backup. Let's he can go get them anytime.
Yeah.
It's like, it was. So let's go back to the very first episode. The very first episode, the first 2 episodes took things very slow. We saw Boba's flashbacks with the Tuskens and like how he escaped the Sarlacc pit and like how he got, pretty got out of it, and then the Jawas beat him up, and then the Tuskens came and like pretty much enslaved Boba, and throughout like that you got to see like how hard like Boba when he got out of the Sarlacc, he was still that same Boba of like he like a killer.
Yeah.
But as he progressed the story, like in the second episode, you saw him like become one with the tribe, saving the Tusken child and killing the beast and bringing back the stuff and like all of that, right? So you saw Boba Fett grow from the man that he was known for as a killer to becoming more like a part of a family or a tribe, and like you saw his character grow in each episode up to episode 3 where like his whole Tusken family was killed by quote unquote those bikers, when it wasn't actually the bikers, it was the Pikes.
Yes.
So but he didn't know that. But besides that too, like not just the flashbacks, but also seeing him in modern day being healed and trying to become this crime lord taking over Jabba's place. And at the beginning, nobody respected him. The other families on Tatooine, they didn't respect him because it was just like another guy that was there. It wasn't Jabba. It wasn't a Hutt. It was Boba Fett. And like, so he had to earn that trust. And whether or not, Boba thought they trusted him, it was like he had to do what he can. And so whether it was with the mayor and all that kind of stuff and like trying to negotiate things, but then everything was leading up to the Pikes taking over, right? And even in the flashbacks we see like Boba say Finnick, because that was in Mandalorian season 1. Was that in season 1?
Yes,
I believe that was season 1. And like it goes all the way up to pretty much like when he meets Mando, or like all that stuff, and then he finally heals, right? And then he's back to 100%. Oh, Chrysanthemum, that's the Wookiee's name.
Okay,
oh my
there
gosh.
you go. I'm glad you remembered that.
Chrysanthemum. Yeah, and then like you got Chrysanthemum coming in and trying to take out Boba, and like the mobs are there. Like everyone critiques the third episode because of the mobs and like the speed bike chase and all that stuff. But I thought it was I like the Book of Boba Fett. Like I could rewatch that series, and this is just me as a Star Wars fan, but also as a Boba Fett fan. I wish there was things I wished. I wish every episode had Boba Fett, and I wish they did save the episodes with the Mandalorian in it for season 3. But I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, like I agree with you on the Mandalorian stuff, especially. Like, it's funny. My favorite episodes, or I guess 2 of my 3 favorite episodes of the Book of Boba Fett barely have Boba Fett, and I think in episode 5 he wasn't in there at all. And I think it's not a bad thing, but if they were going to do it that way, I think the season or series, depending on how they go about doing this, should have gone longer to give Boba Fett more of a story, because I feel like while the first couple episodes were enjoyable, and I would watch them again too, I think a lot of it was just kind of letting us know where he was up until the point of the Mandalorian, and then seeing this little bit of what could potentially be his future. But I feel like in terms of a core story, there wasn't really anything for the character to kind of continue for the future, whereas you have Din Djarin, who already like is coming into the Book of Boba Fett with his own story. And I almost think the Book of Boba Fett should have happened before Mandalorian season 2, aside from episodes 5 and 6 for obvious reasons, because it seems like having like a flashback based show would almost be like a book or a chapter of a book, that you could include to get us to where he shows up in Mandalorian season 2, and then maybe have season 2 of Book of Boba Fett be the second half that we saw, potentially tying in episodes 5 and 6 to like Mandalorian season 2 or 3, depending on how that would have played out if they did that.
That's interesting. I like that. Like, yeah, like my like, I wish it was longer. I wish it was like, I'm glad the last episode was an hour long because they needed that to be an hour long.
Definitely.
But like, yes, I wish it would have been like a few more episodes. They could have incorporated a lot of things. There was a lot of speculation going into this last episode of who was going to show up. One of the speculation is Han Solo going to show up? Is this other crime syndicate called Crimson Dawn from the Solo movie going to show up? Like, there was a bunch of things people speculated and all that when it was not the I mean, you got Cad Bane. That was cool. Like, so episode 6 So 5 and 6. Let's focus on the Mandalorian episodes for a sec.
Okay.
Where, so Mandalorian comes back in. Yeah, it was very jarring too, because he went from, what episode was it? Episode 4, when Boba like got wasn't that the one where he got his Slave One back? He took out that biker gang. In the Sarlacc pit, he was trying to find his armor because he thought it was in the Sarlacc pit when Jawas took it.
Yeah, I believe that was episode 4.
Yeah, and like that was really cool seeing Jabba's palace and so Boba was enslaved. I figured this out. He was enslaved or like with the Tuscans for 5 years.
Oh wow!
And so, but between episode 6 and like, I guess Mandalorian season 1, like 5 years have passed, and then he finally that's when he found Finnick or whatever and like saved her and stuff. And the coolest part was seeing like Jabba's palace without Jabba and like, and they're going in there and like taking the Slave One, and they went to the Sarlacc pit and used the charge and like blew up the Sarlacc pit. Like that's like all that stuff, really cool, like awesome. But then you get to episode 5, right? It's all of a sudden not Boba's show anymore.
It feels like a completely
that
different
way.
show. Like it didn't even feel like it was part of the same thing as the first 4 episodes.
That's why the whole Mandalorian season 2.5 joke came in, or like,
yes,
it's just Mandalorian season 3. It's where it took the focus off of Boba. It was understandable. Here's my gripe. I loved everything. I loved this whole series, but here's my gripe: is that you take away the main character of this show, literally the character that the show is named after, and you go to Mandalorian, which is fine because he's going to be involved in this, but they took, I think, too much time with Mandalorian, where it's like, he comes into that, that meat factory, and like he's doing a job, which is a good way to introduce the character, but then you also have him delivering the bounty, and then you have him like reconnect with whatever the like Mandalorian
the
leader. Yeah. And the whole Darksaber stuff, and like that stuff was all cool, that stuff was all great. It was just like they took that focus off of Boba, put it on the Mandalorian, made it Mandalorian season 2.5. Everyone was focused on that. Everyone was focused on, okay, what's going to happen here? Like, oh, he had this like chain mail, or the chain suit for Grogu made. All this stuff, and then he was disgraced as a Mandalorian because he took his helmet off, and all this stuff, and then like, so, and then like, what was it? What did he go to Tatooine for? I forgot. I don't remember. So he makes his makes his way to Tatooine for something. I forgot what it was about. Oh no. Anyway,
the ship. He wants to get the ship.
The ship. We were the ship. Yeah, and that was all cool. He got his new ship. That was fine. like that was all good, right? All good elements of Star Wars, and like all this stuff. And then you see Finnick in that spaceport, handing money to the Mandalorian. And it's like, I'll just do it for free. It's like, okay, let's see, that's cool. But it's like, did they need to? Like, I feel like you didn't have to do all that. I feel like that could have been the opening for season 3. You take that episode, put it at the beginning of Mandalorian season 3. That would have been great. But you cut it. You like, I think how the Mandalorian probably should have been introduced is probably like Mando Boba and Finnick like reach out to him somehow, like, hey, we got a job for you. We need your help. And then Mando's like, yeah, I'll come. He'll be like, I'll swing by or something. And like, he'll come in and like, he'll help out. And then they could still be focused on Boba with the Mando there. And it would still be as badass as possible, but they can grow the story and the characters that are there and the mobs and like all this stuff, right? Chrysanthemum's character a little bit more, kind of going into that, like, just kind of like building everybody's character on Tatooine. And then they could have, for like episode 6 too, like that could have been the second episode of Mandalorian season 3 or something, where it's like, okay, he went to go see Grogu or whatever, and like it was a bad idea, but like he still gave him the gift, but like Ahsoka could, he would decide to leave, but then Grogu would still make his decision, right?
Yeah. And I think like it's all about the structure, and to go along with what you were saying, when watching the episode, thought that we were just getting kind of caught up with where Din Djarin was. And yes, I do think that should have 100% been part of Mandalorian season 3. And, while I loved it, I do think it would have worked better in favor of the Boba Fett show. Yep. And, I think what they should have done is did kind of a time skip. So it's like, Fennec is saying, I know where we can get help, or whatever she says at the end of episode 4 before they play Din Djarin's theme. And then maybe have some more Boba Fett stuff at the start of episode 5, cut to, Din Djarin maybe getting, showing he got a new ship and saying, but first I need to visit a little friend. And then have him then come back at the end of episode 7 of Boba Fett to help out. And then season 3 of The Mandalorian could have gone back within like the first 2 episodes to fill in the stuff that we saw in episodes 5 and 6, and then pick up the story from there. Because I do think it was a huge disservice to the Boba Fett show to... It completely cut away from it. When it opened with Din Djarin, I was like, okay, it's cool. We're going to get 2 different, stories going at the same time, but they really just kind of stopped one and started another.
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
Yeah, that's the problem a lot of people had with it, including myself. And I think the biggest problem with that is not necessarily even how they did it. Like, they could have still done that and did it in a better way to incorporate Boba Fett or something like that. But I think where the real issue was with it is I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
I think let's see, I'll get it back. The issue with that is kind of like it wasn't anything central to the story of Boba Fett, and it was like so many things, just including like the mood of it, the lighting, the editing. I feel like it was so similar to The Mandalorian, and when you have something that is so like, people are invested in The Mandalorian and they loved when Boba Fett showed up in The Mandalorian. But I think right now people are really focused on Din Djarin and his story with Grogu and Luke and Ahsoka, and adding all of these elements in that people have wanted for years and years. Me even, just becoming a bigger Star Wars fan over the past like year and a half. That stuff I know people have wanted for a long time. And I think when you invest people in a story that much, either what continues right after it is not going to measure up to it unless it's something like Kenobi. I think that'll be fine because of who the characters are. Yep. But with Boba Fett and the way they did this, I think the minute Din Djarin was mentioned or showed up, everybody was like, okay, now we're getting back into the story. I think the problem with Boba Fett is it kind of jumped to these flashbacks and stuff, which are great. It's great to see the character and, how he ends up where he ends up. But it didn't feel like it was really playing off of the story that he was introduced to in the first hand, which was like midway through season 2 of Mandalorian. And I think it should have been done differently in terms of releases to make people really appreciate both aspects, because they're both great in their own way. I just think they did it wrong with the planning.
Right. No, I can definitely understand that. Like, gosh, there's so many things. Like, as like a story for for Boba Fett as a whole, it probably falls, for me at like a 5.
Yeah.
As Star Wars, it's an 8. 8 or 9 for me. For like importance of Star Wars, I would say 8.59. For just Boba Fett's character, I like a 5. But overall, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Ahsoka. I enjoyed seeing Luke. I enjoyed seeing that little training thing Luke and Grogu had. I enjoyed.
That was funny.
Just like I loved it. And like even going into last episode, you had Cad Bane appear. He was a character from the Clone Wars. If you didn't know.
Yes, Real Rejects. When I was watching their reaction, kind of filled me in on what I needed to know about the character. And after you finish saying what you were going to say, I have a question relating to that character for you that I'm very interested to hear your answer on.
Okay. Cad Bane, he's similar to Boba Fett. He trained Boba growing up and stuff. So, like, pretty much Cad Bane, he's just he's like a badass bounty hunter, kind of like how Boba Fett was in the movies. Very intimidating guy, very just like, this character coming back. He's really old too in this, so it's like, the way like, it was like Cad Bane appears in the desert, and I'm like, oh, this is like, I didn't expect that. I thought something else would happen. In episode 6? Yeah, Cad Bane appeared in the desert. I was like, oh man, they're gonna have an old western shootout. I was like, man, this couldn't be any better. And they did that. You had Cobb Vanth there, and like, just like the voice too. His voice actor.
I love his voice.
Whoa.
He sounds like if Optimus Prime chain smoked for like 100 years, and then like, I don't know how to describe it. It sounds so cool.
It's really cool, and like they did that character justice. I think he looked really badass, and like it was like, wow, you get to see him in live action, and it was really cool. And like having him square down against Cobb Vanth, and like having Cobb Vanth get shot, and then him killing the sheriff, and like that whole scene was like, whoa, what? And then the episode ends. So that was really cool. And then you get to the last episode, the season final, and like they kill him off.
Yes.
So I think we're gonna get more of him, and we'll get more, like, I think like we'll get him in the Andor series when that comes out. I don't think, like, people say he lived, or he could have lived because of the beeping and all that stuff, but it's like, if they have him live, that like, it kind of doesn't justify Boba's story. I think Boba killing him is what Boba needed to
Yeah.
do. Even though it was very quick and people were like, oh, it was kind of lackluster, but it was like, to me, it made sense. Like, it was like, he's old. And like having Boba like kind of one up him in a way when he's much faster. Like, just having that. But what was your question?
So with his death and all that, do you think he should have been introduced earlier into the season to give fans, if this is going to be his only appearance, more with that character in live action? It's kind of a two-part question. And the second part is, do you think maybe what's the thing that Boba would like, that tank he was in? What was it called?
That's Back to Tank.
Back to Tank. Do you think that might be how he comes back to life if he does?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if he survived, the only way I think he would survive if he had a droid in the Clone Wars TV show. That like if he were to survive, his droid probably would have got him and put him in a Back to Tank. Well, it was point blank where Boba stabbed him. It was right in the heart, and plus like he has he has a lot of like other things too that he has to keep him alive and stuff. So if this is the end for him, if this is the end of his story arc here, that's okay. Mm-hmm. I think we'll see him on other media. But going back to the first question of, I think, yeah, maybe they should have introduced him a little earlier. Maybe like the Pikes could have been in the office, and the Pike leader could have been like, well, I got someone just for this job, and then enters Cad Bane or something.
Yeah, that would have been a great way to establish him.
Mm-hmm. I hired the exact guy for this job, and then Cad Bane walks in,
with that voice.
Yeah, it's like he literally could have said like, Boba Fett something. I used to be his like master, or like he used to train under me, so I know exactly his weak points, or blah blah blah. Like something that could like give Cad Bane sort of like, yes, there like a like little bit more than just like 2 episodes and like a couple minutes of screen time, and so, just like to establish his story a little more, to make it so like his death was more justifiable. I mean, like to make it more, I would justifiable, I guess. But like, I'm glad Boba was the one to kill him.
Definitely. I heard a lot of people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I'm not saying like we won't see him ever again. Mm-hmm. I believe he is dead, and I'm going to believe that he's dead. We'll probably see him in like previous media, because Cad Bane in like Clone Wars, and like he has an established story. And like if we were to see him more, it'd probably be like the Andor series or something previously that's happened. Like, I don't know where Cad Bane's story would go from here. Like, even if he did survive, would he go back for vengeance on Boba? I don't know. Like, where would we see him go?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the question. Like, how would we see? Because he's really old at this point. I forgot exactly how old he is, but from what I heard, he's pretty up there, and like, I don't know what else he could do. So, yeah.
So it's kind of like giving a send off to the character before he's like pathetically, killed by someone because of old age or something. Like, they're making it memorable and kind of how it should be for those characters. Like giving him a way to have a justifiable out if he is, getting to the age, however old he is, where it wouldn't make sense to be who the character is that people know him as. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, I don't know. Like, what I was going to say earlier is that his character, it's funny how they introduced him, because just going off of like the editing and the music and stuff like that, you know this is an important character, but they didn't really tell you, if you haven't watched the animated stuff like myself. I haven't seen it yet. They don't really tell you who it is, and they don't tell you the backstory with him and Boba, or like why there would be this feud beyond just the spice and all that. So yeah. I wish they did that a little bit, like they went a little more in depth, because I did have to go and research to understand basic, like, you know, in basic terms, who this character was.
Yeah.
And again, like when it comes to editing and all that, it was obvious that this is a character that was intimidating. It's someone that, you know, it was a big reveal because you saw the kind of the blurriness in the distance, and then he got closer, and then you saw the hat. Yep. And I know for a lot of fans, like the hat that cued them in. Like, yep. Yeah, so you know he's important, but if you haven't seen the stuff previously, you don't know why he's important. You don't know why he's important to the story. And I think that moment, part of what maybe made how quick Boba killed him lackluster for people, is that this character hadn't really been in the live action setting for a long time. So it didn't really seem like he was as important as maybe killing him had the importance of for Boba, if that makes sense. Like, so I think that's kind of where things needed to be done a little differently, because the audience needed to understand who the character was and why he was important. And that would have made the impact for Boba killing him so much greater, because I didn't know that he trained Boba. Like, just learning that from you right now makes that scene a lot more kind of intense in my mind, because you have the almost, you know, Anakin versus Obi-Wan like fight kind of thing going on. That's the kind of stakes you're at when you have that in your mindset. So yeah, I think they needed more explanation there. But as far as the character goes, like, you know, as we've both said quite a few times already, the voice was perfect. I don't know, is that how it sounds in the animated stuff too?
No, so it's a different voice actor for the live action, but like it's similar, but this guy made it more just intimidating and older. So I was like, yeah, this works. But going back real quick, because you said something that like that sparks in me. It's like that thing of like only seeing him for like a short amount of time, and for new people that come in don't know this character, it's like, you gave us him and then killed him off. Who is he? And it's like, you don't know Cad Bane unless you watch Clone Wars and Rebels and all this other stuff. And it's like jarring, right? So no, I totally understand, because I'm like, oh yeah, Cad Bane, that's awesome. But there's new people that come in. It's like, oh yeah, who's this? Who's Cad Bane?
Yeah,
no,
totally.
There's definitely that disconnect there, which I'm glad that there is media like the Clone Wars and all this other stuff that you could watch to know the character, other than like reading him in like a book or something. Because like, let's face it, you would rather watch the character than like reading him in a book. But even then, it's like, yes, you have to go back and understand and research and understand the character for them to actually have this connection to you for this finale. Because if you don't know who Cad Bane is, then you're like kind of lost of like, oh, why they introduced this cool ass character and then just kill him off. All right, cool.
Exactly.
Exactly. I totally understand. Like, there was actually a deleted scene from Clone Wars that they were supposed to put in, but deleted. It was so Boba and Cad Bane had a face-off before, and it's the reason why Boba has his dent in his helmet. Because there's a deleted scene from the Clone Wars that shows them facing off. Cad Bane shoots Boba in the helmet, and Boba shoots Cad Bane, and that was supposed to be Cad Bane's original death.
Oh, interesting.
But they kind of retconned it to where like Cad Bane survived, and he has that metal plate on his head.
Okay.
That's where the metal plate comes from Boba shooting Cad Bane. So it's like they referenced that, but they showed it and didn't really talk about it. They did, or Cad Bane did say like, oh, like I one upped you before, or like this is you, like I teached you, like so if they've met before previously, but it just doesn't show when.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we can either continue talking about Boba Fett and make this an entire Boba Fett episode, or just because of time, I think we do want to move on, we should. But I'm also totally cool continuing with Boba Fett. So do you have a preference?
Well, we can spend another like 5 minutes here, because I will talk about the series final real quick, and like we'll wrap this up in a nice little bow.
Sweet. Sounds good.
So like in general, like Cad Bane's character, really awesome, and like there are some jarring things that like I said, I could talk about it forever with the whole thing. I truly liked it. We go into the season final. This season final is probably a good like 6 or 7 for me. We got everything. We got Boba Fett and Mando back to back, like fighting with and like you got to see them in their element. You got all the characters on Tatooine. Like you got everything Star Wars. You got the Western with the shootouts. You got the droids. You got Grogu. You got all the supporting characters there. Like it's like an all-out war, right? Yes, it probably dragged on a lot more than it should have, but like I enjoyed every minute of that episode. I soaked it in. I was like, you know what? Despite not having Boba Fett the last 2 episodes, like this right here, like they made that final episode made it for me. And I was like, like, granted they took Boba Fett away from us for 2 episodes, but doing this, they made its justice to me. Yeah, and I was satisfied.
I think really seeing where that character steps up and shows how tough he can be is when they sent out, I can't remember who's that like spokesperson for the mayor.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I know his name. I forgot. Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Whatever his name is, I can never remember it. His character was pretty funny to me too, but when they sent him out and his offer was nothing. And then and then having Boba and Mando and Fennec and everybody come out and start shooting, I think that was really a cool way to show how strategic Boba was, because I thought it was going to be a thing where the spokes guy goes out and he gets killed, and then there's going to be more tension and stuff will build up. But I think that surprise attack was really a cool way to say, yes, this is like the character who doesn't have, much fear about going into stuff, and he is kind of harder than the soft person you've seen in the past few episodes.
Yes, exactly. And like, yeah, like there was a lot of the stuff in this episode that I liked. I really liked when Cad Bane and Boba were squaring off for the first time in that episode, and Finnick was like, "You're too emotional. We need to regroup, and like, you need to step back." Like she like calmed him down, and I was like, I definitely understand that.
And shout out to Ming-Na Wen for doing a great job with that character, because
she's amazing.
Loved her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I'm so glad they did the same thing. It's not the exact same character, but it is kind of that like right-hand man, so to speak, character for what she did in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the same for Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. And I think she's really good with those roles. and I hope they use her more in the future because I really like seeing her on screen, and especially, man, when she took out everybody at the end.
That was cool.
That was so good.
She did that. She did perfect job. And Tamara Morrison is Boba. Like all the all the actors like do their characters justice. And like honestly, like I've been enjoying Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett more than I've been enjoying like the sequel trilogy and stuff. Like they're doing a great job, and like I can't wait to see how they're going to do things in the future. The last thing I'll say about the finale of Book of Boba Fett is just like I am so happy they made this series. For me, Boba Fett it has always and will be a big part of my life as growing up and all that stuff, because for me, like I resonate a lot with that character. So from that's it for me. Do you have any final things you would like to say about the Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, overall, I really liked it. I do think as far as the character of Boba Fett goes, there could have been more for the character in his show. But with what we got, I'm really happy with the direction of everything, the characters that were included, and I cannot wait to get updates on your cosplay. So you'll have to keep us updated with that. Send me some pictures.
Yeah. I will. I definitely will. I actually got some stuff on Amazon I have in my list I'm going to buy next week, so it's going to be dope.
Sweet.
But yeah, I'll definitely show you that. But from the Book of Boba Fett, we're going to be going into are we going to go into Batman? Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I think that's the next logical step.
Okay, so
one entertainment franchise to another.
Yep. So, Batman. What do you got about for that?
So the advanced screenings for the Batman went on sale and they sold out, which I am super happy about because I know everybody's been loving the trailers. But with trailer hype, you can never quite judge how a movie's going to do. And I think this is really an indication of how big this movie's going to be. And I never thought I would say this, but I really do think like the Twilight fan base is partially to thank for how big this movie's gotten because they are, tweeting and posting and whatever in support of Robert Pattinson.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's really getting it the traction kind of beyond what Batman typically gets because, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, they all trend, but I think Robert Pattinson really is getting the spotlight on him because he was in Twilight and Harry Potter, and he just, over the past years, working with Christopher Nolan and really elevating beyond what he had before, but also keeping those fans from the past. I think that's going to help out this movie a lot, especially with, everything going on. Spider-Man and Scream are the only ones to really kind of bounce back into the numbers that we saw before for movies. And I think the Batman looks like it is going to be one of the few that will join that club. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see this movie. It's, I think, like 2 hours and 40 minutes long, which is perfect because every report has said it's going to be like a noir detective film. There's going to be gritty elements. There's going to be things that, we've wanted to see from Batman. There's going to be some new stuff that we might not have expected. And this is my most anticipated movie of this year. I know that's a big thing for especially Marvel fans with Doctor Strange 2 coming out, but I don't know what else to say. The Batman is something I've been looking forward to for like 4 years now, I think, since it was announced. And I can't wait to see what this new take on The Dark Knight will be like, especially since it's almost going to be, I think, 10 years since The Dark Knight Rises came out, which was the last like Batman movie.
Oh yeah. And Robert Pattinson, right? Yeah, very like especially with like the Twilight, crowd and stuff. Like definitely it's going to be a hit because he's Robert Pattinson. Like
exactly,
he is a brilliant actor. besides, Twilight, and like he does, like, I think he can definitely like embellish that role and take it as his, and like make a fantastic performance out of it. But yeah, we'll see. I like noir detective stories. I just find like that sort of stuff like very just like really cool and interesting, and like it takes a element of like that detective dark, night in the cities like aspect of it, and it puts it on screen and you're able to see it all, and it's just, I don't know, I just get really nerdy about it. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see what they do going forward for Batman, and like I think we discussed it before, where it's like it's like it is sort of a new take, but it's like a new take, but it's going into an element where people are familiar with. So
yeah, I think you put it perfectly. Like, this is a very new take live action, but I think they kind of brought a lot of different elements together from different comic runs, like the Long Halloween, which I read for the first time. I think it was in like October. I am so like, if that has a lot of influence on this movie, this might be my favorite Batman movie, and I never thought anything would top The Dark Knight, because that like those comics, or that comic, depending on how people look at it, there's like 12 different sections, but I don't know if it's technically one book or if it's 12 books. The way that comic is laid out, I couldn't stop reading it. Like, I had to read all of it in one day. And if that is any indication of how this movie is going to be, I think this movie's going to be insane. And there's so much about it. Like the Riddler. I never thought the Riddler would be a cool villain. I haven't seen this movie yet, and I really, really like this portrayal of the Riddler, because he's doing stuff that, like, it's what I imagine the TV show Gotham would do. And I know we talked about this a little bit last episode, and how that was kind of the first version of the Riddler where people actually felt a little bit of fear from him. And I think this version of the Riddler kind of draws from that as well, except he is very disturbed. And I think that's a great take on the character, because we haven't seen that side of the Riddler in live action before, or a lot in general, through comics or anything else. And I think bringing that light on a character who has been looked at as kind of a silly villain, or not quite as top tier as like the Joker and other villains like that, I think it really gives him a chance. And I hope he makes it through the end of this movie, because I know something that Tim Burton did a lot in his Batman movies was kill off the villains. And especially this early in Batman's career, it would kind of suck if they killed off the Riddler, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Riddler is going to be an interesting character going into this. I've always been a fan of Batman. The recent one, I watched Batman and Superman. What was his most recent one they did with Batman? Was that one? No.
It depends on how you look at it. If you're looking at theatrical releases, it would be Justice League. If you're looking at like general releases, or the better version of Justice League, it would be Zack Snyder's Justice League. Did you watch that ever?
I don't think I did. No, I didn't get a chance to watch that one.
Highly recommend it. It's 4 hours of great content, and really lays out, like, I think what Zack Snyder wanted to communicate with that movie before Joss Whedon took over and they reshot a bunch of stuff.
Was this the most recent one you were talking to me about?
Maybe.
I don't remember, because I don't know if that was that one or something else. But yes, no, I agree, because I did watch previews for it, and I was hyped for it. I just never had a chance to actually go see it. So I will definitely put that on my watch list thing, because Zack Snyder, he's a great director with everything he does.
Definitely.
So yeah, I'll have to watch that. But yeah, I did watch Batman and Superman, and that was pretty cool. I like Batman for me. He's just like another badass character that I love.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. From moving to Batman, do you have any Marvel things you want to discuss?
So it's loosely Marvel related. News dropped earlier today that Sony set up a deal with, I believe it was Warner Brothers and HBO or HBO Max to have their films go on that streaming platform, which is kind of crazy given, the films that Sony has. I think any other films, like Ghostbusters and what's the one with Tom Holland? Uncharted, I think is the one that's coming out soon. Like, I understand those going over there, but the question a lot of people are having and what it looks like will be happening is Spider-Man will be going over there too. And I think that is kind of huge because everybody's wanted those movies on Disney Plus for a long time so they can have the watch order and really see them in the mix of the MCU. And I think everybody thought that would happen eventually, but now it looks like it is going to be going over to the platforms that are primarily DC characters, which is Marvel's competition because DC's owned by Warner Brothers and Discovery.
Yep.
And I honestly don't know what this is going to do. It might be an issue with Disney, and they might end up parting ways with their Sony deal. I don't think they would do that for money reasons just because of how big Spider-Man No Way Home was. Mm-hmm. But I do think this shows an issue with kind of, Sony has no loyalty, and for them to sign a deal to go into business with Disney's direct competitors for not only characters, Marvel versus DC, but also streaming services with HBO Max versus Disney Plus. So we don't know a whole lot right now, but that is some news Marvel related that I think could give us some very, very interesting news in the future.
Oh yeah, no, that's that's interesting because it's like what. Because it's one of those monopoly things, and it's like Disney is it is a monopoly. Disney is a monopoly in a lot of things, and it's about contract agreements and what can go on what, and Sony and Marvel and all this stuff. Like, I know a lot of people have wanted No Way Home on Disney Plus, but they haven't brought that.
Yes.
So it's like. I do see them going for Spider-Man movies anyway, going to HBO Max, but we'll see. It's like for me, I see it as 50-50. It could go either way. It really depends on what Sony wants to do about it. Like,
yeah,
they're really picky about Spider-Man, and they're very, but it's like Disney will like pay, obviously. To have that platform or whatever because Spider-Man makes a lot of money. But it all comes down to contracts and what they want to do. So it's like, we'll see. I'm always a Spider-Man fan. And I'm excited for the future of it. Like with the whole Marvel thing and like all the universes coming together, like it's very interesting. Like I know there were rumors going around about more Spider-Man for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield too.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of talks of Spider-Man right now, and they're also the whole Miles Morales stuff and like a lot of Spider-Man news. Because isn't the next movie gonna have all three of them again? I forget.
So there hasn't been an official announcement on even another Spider-Man movie. There's been different people saying that like, oh, they signed for a new trilogy, but Sony hasn't really put out an official statement yet. It's a lot of, I would say, speculation with pulling and twisting what people involved with it have said.
Yeah.
But I think it's very likely that we will see Tom, Toby, and Andrew as well as Miles, Spider-Gwen, and other characters, because what I think is going to happen at the end of Spider-Verse 2 is they are going to go into the live action reality, and I think they're going to connect the MCU / Sony movies with the Spider-Verse movies.
That would be so cool. That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I literally got goosebumps. That'd be so cool. Just to have like all these Spider-Man all in one movie. I'm like, what are they going to do?
Well, because they've already hinted at Miles in the MCU. I forget the character's name, but Donald Glover, when he was in Spider-Man Homecoming, he was the one guy who was involved with Vulture for like a scene or two, and then he was putting stuff in his car when Spider-Man was using interrogation mode. He is Miles's uncle. So there's already an established connection to Miles Morales. And whether it's going to be like the Miles from Into the Spider-Verse 2 or Across the Spider-Verse, whatever it's called.
Whatever, yep. Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Miles from Into the Spider-Verse or it is whatever they end up doing, there is a connection there, so we'll have to see what they end up going with. But I do think it would be really cool, like especially if you want the biggest end credit scene of all time, have the movie end and then show Miles, and then there's like some glitching, and then have that be the way they reveal the actor, the live action actor for Miles Morales, and then also connect it to showing like maybe Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man on his TV with some news, or the conclusion or news footage of Spider-Man No Way Home. I think something like that would be perfect. And if they want to set up a future for that character in live action connected with that, I think that would be the absolute best way to do it, and the internet would break. No doubt.
That'd be so cool. I think, oh my gosh, there's so many speculated things we could just like come up with. But yeah, it's just like, oh man, I'm excited for it. Hopefully, we'll see where Spider-Man goes from here. Like I do believe, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but I do believe Toby and Andrew were going to do some more Spider-Man stuff. Regardless of what it was, I don't know, but we'll see. So
yeah, there's from what I understand, there's talk about it, but nothing has been outright like confirmed. But also, it was never confirmed that they were in No Way Home until like 2 weeks after the movie came out. So who knows if we'll ever get confirmation of them continuing. Maybe they'll just show up, and that's how they are now. But yeah, I know we're getting kind of up there on time, and we wanted to discuss a little bit of music too. Yes, so Miles, is there any music that you have been listening to or writing that you want to share?
Nothing writing. I just mainly wanted to talk about just kind of like genres we've been listening to and what kind of is our like on our playlists recently, and just like all that. But I can start. So for me, I've been listening to a lot of like, we've been talking like lately about like alternative music and like this new punk stuff coming out, and like just kind of getting like, I'm not listening to like one genre anymore. I used to listen to a lot of rap. I used to listen to a lot of Eminem and anybody connected to Eminem. There was like the bands growing up that like I listened to, so like All American Rejects, Fall Out Boy, Linkin Park, but I wasn't like a metal rock head as much. But I listened to a lot of like Eminem, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, Biggie, all that stuff. But for me now, it's changed so much. Like I will go from like a 90s hip hop song to like a modern day new punk, like almost like Machine Gun Kelly or like something like that. And I can just like go around, but I'm having fun listening to music, and I'm okay when, like we talked about it before, I'm okay with like artists switching it up. So like
Yeah.
I've made like playlists of like just all sorts of like new alternative bands coming out, and like things I find on TikTok too. All these like new artists. There are some amazing singers out there that don't get recognized, and it's just like I just like finding all these new artists and like finding these new genres that are what people are trying out now. I think music has come, like, for me anyway, I've had a whole big view of like what music is, I guess. And
Yeah.
like things going forward with that. Yeah. So, but what did you how about you?
Well, first off, I just want to say it's really cool that you're kind of expanding your music horizons more, because I've been doing the same over, and I'm sure I've mentioned this maybe even in the past episodes of the podcast or to you on the side, that I used to only listen to Green Day, then I transitioned to only punk rock, and then over like the past 3 to 4 years, I slowly introduced other genres, and now I'm kind of where you are. Like, I'll listen to anything if I like it. I'm not going to, close off anything if it doesn't fit into rock or whatever. I think it's a stupid mindset. I don't know how I got into that mindset, but that's how it was. So yeah, as far as music I've been listening to recently, it's been a lot of like pop rock and indie. So some songs in particular that I would like to kind of shout out. The first one is by the artist Oof, spelled OOF. That is one of my friends. He does, I don't even know what to describe it as, kind of electronic, indie, alternative something. And it sounds really, really cool. If you have a chance to check out his music, his song Bender, spelled BNDR, I've been listening to that on repeat along with the other 2 songs I'm going to mention. And yeah, hop over on Spotify, give him some listens, some really cool kind of experimental stuff, and I really like what he's doing.
Is it like capital O, or is it capital O?
Capital O
O?
and then lowercase o and lowercase f.
Is he the guy that's like painted, like has a painted shirt?
Yeah, with the pink background.
Yeah, with the pink background. Okay,
Yes,
right.
yes, that is him.
I'll have to check him out.
Sweet.
Okay.
And then the next song, kind of going off of that indie experimental sound, would be Especially You by Wallows. Wallows has easily within the past year risen to become one of my favorite bands, because they're indie, but they go from like electronic stuff to like more traditional indie to like surf rock, and they just kind of incorporate everything in a really cool way that also sounds genuine. Like, I think that's something a lot of artists are kind of doing now. Like, while you do have great ones, like you mentioned, coming through TikTok and like what Machine Gun Kelly is doing, you also have ones where it's not so genuine and they're just trying to ride the trend. And I think Wallows is one of the artists who really did that well initially, and their stuff is super good. I don't know, I listen to them all the time. No matter what I'm doing, I can throw on a song by them and it gets me in the mood for whatever I want a song to get me in the mood for. Yeah, I'll send you over some songs after we finish recording, because they have a great sound, or a great mix of sounds. Ooh. And the last artist I want to shout out is Cami Pettin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She just released a song called All My Friends Keep Dying from Drugs. And her music, she started with like a pop thing. Maybe like alternative is a better way to describe it. And then she's slowly been heading into a rock direction. Mm-hmm. And this one, like, it's really good. And I know I think she was like a food YouTuber or a vegan YouTuber at the start of her YouTube career, but she's really transitioned into doing music. And this is only, I want to say, like her 6th song, maybe. And she got it to number 3 on the alternative charts on iTunes. So, yeah, she's been making some really good stuff. This song in particular, I think her emotion is great. The production is great. The instrumentals fit where they need to. Like there's some calmer sections and then there's some heavier sections. I think everything is done really well. And yeah, those are the songs I think people should check out this week because they have impacted me musically and they are great songs in general.
Okay. All right, those are yeah. I'll definitely have to check that out. I'll definitely check out Oof. So when I get the chance, I have that.
It's fun to say, isn't it?
It is fun to say. So I got a couple shout outs too. I'll do my top 3. Recently been listening to. I've been listening to. There's this band called Between You and Me.
Ooh, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they have this song called "Go to Hell" that I have just been like listening to on repeat recently. It's features yours truly. It's a chick, and like the two mix very well. So they have that song and they have this other song called Butterflies. They're very like alternative, I guess. It's like rock bandish, but it's like a newer sound.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So Go to Hell. It's an amazing song, and I really like that song. Let's see, what's another one I have on here? I have. Have you heard the band Starset?
I have.
Yeah, there's a song called "Dying for You" that I'm been listening to right now too. That it's very. It's another rocky song, but it's very emotional. I would say I like the like songs that tell a story, and for me, like, lyrics mean a lot. I do like the instrumentals and stuff, but when people can sing and like harmonize and like there's a lot of elements for me that like are amusing to my ear that I just like enjoy.
What was
the drums.
The song name again?
Die for You.
My roommate actually showed me their song "My Demons" like a couple nights ago. So I knew the name. I was like, I know that name, and I know I've heard them recently. So I will definitely check out that one.
Yeah, Starset, another amazing band. And then I got. Let's see here. What's another one I've been listening to recently? It's yes. So I've been. So what's your take on Falling in Reverse before I talk about this?
I like and appreciate them. I have to be in a certain mood to listen to them. Like, I can't just throw them on. I feel like I need to invest emotionally into them. But yeah, I think they have some really good stuff and super talented.
Okay, I figured you knew who Falling in Reverse was. That's why I asked. So their song "Zombified" is a recent release. It's really big right now. It's like being played everywhere. It's the one where they talk about cancel culture and stuff like that. Like where it's like you say one thing 10 years ago and it comes back up or wodayver it is, and it's
Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter. Like that was big. And Roddy, like I like Falling in Reverse. I've been listening to them and keeping up with them. Like, yes, I also have to be in like the mood to listen to them, but they fit my style of music, and like I like their style, and their newest song "Zombified" is another big recommendation for me. And it's going back. This is my last recommendation, but going back to Book of Boba Fett for a second, Tamara Morrison has an album. The guy who plays Boba Fett, it's literally called Tem. Tem is the album, and he does like a bunch of covers, and like he's a great singer. It's a great album. I recommend this album to anyone that's like a Star Wars fan or a Tamara Morrison fan. Like he did a cover of the Beatles' "Let It Be." I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. You know,
Oh,
like
so
that,
getting some
yeah,
big songs out there.
yeah, like he did what is it? Drift Away. You know, Drift Away. Yeah, there's a lot of good songs on there that are just like, he's a great singing voice. Like, and I listened. I put that one on every now and then, just as like some chill music in the background. But he has a outstanding voice, and I recommend that album. So
That's
for,
really
for things
cool.
I've been listening to. Yeah,
I can't
So.
I can't picture him singing because all I think of whenever I see a picture of him, of course I like only associate him with Book of Boba Fett or the character in general. But all I can think of whenever I see him or hear someone talking about him is his voice when he says "I am Boba Fett."
Oh,
And
yeah, I am Boba
like
Fett.
I just can't picture that voice singing, so I'm very
Yeah.
very curious to hear what this sounds
he,
like.
he also plays the I don't know if you ever seen Moana, but he plays the dad in Moana too.
Oh yeah, I have seen
yeah.
Moana.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he overall, it's just he has like 11 songs, and like, yeah, Wonderful World, he did that too. Like, but he great voice, and just a great album to just like listen to in the background to put it on. So
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, that's it for music for me. Did you have anything?
No,
Anything else?
I think I got all my recommendations out for the week.
Okay, well, this is our longest episode. This one's going to be about
Yes.
an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. But yeah, so it's overall like that, like music and Book of Boba Fett and like all this stuff, and like it's just it's just cool to like see, and what everything in media and all that kind of stuff is like coming out, and like it's a good time we're living in for just like entertainment. I think thing I've been noticing a lot is just like my interests in certain things have been like just spiking to where like, oh, what's like the newest thing in Marvel right now, what's the newest thing, and like because I wasn't like a huge Marvel fan. I know you're like a bigger Marvel fan than I am, but I'm always like keeping up with like news sources now and like looking at topics. It's just like,
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
I approve.
So I'm just I've been just like so like focused on like certain things I've been wanting to talk about and like getting my voice out there. So it's, yeah, I'm enjoying this podcast, man.
I am too. Yeah, I love talking with you about this stuff, and I love the format we have because it's free flowing, but we also have topics that we kind of come back around to, and they're topics that have news coming about constantly. So I think everything's fresh, and we can talk about news, theories, recommendations. Like it's just so fun, and I look forward to recording this every week. Like as soon as we finish recording an episode, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to record the next one. It's just super fun.
Yep. And I just sometimes I'll write topics down, and I know this week was a big Boba Fett related one, but I was trying to think throughout the week what else we could talk about, and like I'm glad like you helped me out with some of the Marvel stuff that I was able to look into, and yeah, it's just like I'm glad to have you like help me with certain aspects, and vice versa, I can help you with certain aspects.
Oh yeah, like the whole Cad Bane thing, like
yeah,
just what you mentioned here. Like you're a Star Wars encyclopedia to me, so like you can answer all of my questions, which is great, because I do think, I know I've said this for a while, and I haven't started it, but I do think I am going to start watching the animated Star Wars stuff.
Oh,
so yeah. I will. Which one should I start with?
So you start with the Clone Wars movie. That's
Okay.
the first one. It's the animation. I'll say this right now. The animation is dated.
Okay.
But like take an open mind with it. I enjoyed it. Like I can rewatch that movie and still enjoy it, even with the animation being like 2007-ish, whenever that one came out.
Okay.
But it is the first one in the Clone Wars series that you should watch, and then you can start with like the actual show. Yeah, I can send you like a timeline or something to
that'd be great.
Guide you along. But like it is pretty cool when you get to learn about Ahsoka and Cad Bane, like all these side characters, and like where they come from, and you're like, oh, like you just draw a connection to them, and you see why Cad Bane is such a beloved bounty hunter and a beloved character when later on. So yeah, definitely, man.
Sweet.
So,
well,
yeah,
I
man,
think that should do it for this episode. Otherwise,
yes,
it's going to be,
about this
we're going to get into 2 hours and then we may never stop.
Yep.
So,
yep. So I agree. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Like I said, I want to plug all our social channels down in the description when this is up. And yeah, it's like I said, man, it's a blast talking to you every single time, and it's a blast talking about nerd stuff all the time. So other than that, I appreciate every single one of you listening, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.